Hi, I'm Tasia, and this is my husband Brett, and welcome to Amadeo Dispatch. This is our first ever episode, and I can't say that we haven't gotten off without a hitch because it's been sheer chaos since we said we're going to sit down and we're going to do this tonight. This has been something that's been on our hearts for some time. We have gotten some feedback from our church that's been well received, and they have been encouraging to us. And so we are bringing you now our first episode. So the purpose of the intent of Amadeo Dispatch, Amadeo means lover of God. And God when we intend to pursue God's heart, God pursues our heart in return. And so that's what you're going to hear a lot of is just our heart's desires going after God's heart. So today, episode one, we are going to actually go into a series of first off, because go big or go home, right? So we're going to go through the upside down kingdom, the idea of the upside down kingdom. So just a little bit of research that I did. Upside down kingdom is intended to convey the way the kingdom of God challenges the prevailing social order of the world. So there's 4 points to this. The first point is to become a leader, you must become a servant, which is our first point that we're going to talk about today. Later on, we're going to talk about other points about dying to self, getting back at your enemy, and how to become rich. So we're just going to open today with a reading from Matthew 20, 26 through 28.
It says, and this is the red letters, so we know they're important. It's not the way among you, but whosoever wishes to become great among you shall be your servant. And whatever wishes to be first among you shall be your slaves. And just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many.
So, along with the research that I mentioned earlier, one of the quotes that I came to the table with was from Ken Wistrema from the book Pursuing Justice: The Call to Live and Die for Bigger Things. And he said, the kingdom of God is an upside down kingdom. It beckons us to gamble all, to trust radically, and to come and die so that we may live, to give our lives away. So the main reason why I wanted Brett to be here today with me on this very first episode is not only is he my guinea pig, but also because he has such a servant's heart. And that's one of the things that attracted me to him when he and I first started dating. And he tells the story so poignantly about his servitude in a previous church that he used to attend before he and I met.
Um, I don't know. It's let's back up. When I was before I was a teenager, 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere in there, I spent about 6 months in a foster facility. Long drawn out story, not a big deal. And all places they put me was in the home of a Baptist preacher. And so he was very stringent, and we learned our verses and we yada yada yada. And probably the verse that stuck with me the most that I can remember to this day, and I did pull up a copy to make sure I didn't botch it, but Psalms 84:10, it's for a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. And for some reason, over 40 years, that has stuck with me. And I don't know. It's just, I had a wonderful family growing up. Went to church all my life. This was just something that was embedded in me. And I'm the guy in the background. I'm the guy. I don't have to be announced. I don't have to be thanked or applauded. I'm the guy in the background that just helps make things work. It's just kind of what I've always done. And so uh, I kind of got away from church for a little while. And when the cowboy church movement started, oh, it's been 10, 12 years ago. That to me seemed like a dream come true. I mean, where else can you go to set and have biscuits and gravy on the morning before you listen to the preacher preach. I mean, it's just, and part of, I guess my job started out pretty close to day one was to be the door greeter. Um, there was a kind word to every person that walked through the door. You help me, mom, papa through the door and get them seated, and that just was a natural place for me to be. And I didn't think of it as servitude or as a job, or that was just where I was supposed to be. Um, Later on, kind of as things went, um, we got into anytime you have cowboys, you got cooking, and that's kind of my venture that I do: Dutch oven, black pot, cast iron, and so it was always a way for me to serve in a capacity in my church to help feed many. We had rotating shifts. We fixed breakfast every Sunday morning. We fixed supper every Wednesday night, and that just become part of what we did. And I was part of that. I by no means led that, or I'm not going to tell you I've had 350 people. I had a wonderful team that helped us feed 350 people. So I always want my team to have credit. My team, no matter which, and my team is always different. It's never the same three people. It's always, no matter what I'm doing, is always different people, and I always want them to get the credit that they deserve. But just being, somebody's got to type up that bulletin. Somebody's got to print those bulletins off. Somebody's got to clean the church. Somebody's got to clean the bathroom. Um, there's many ways to be a servant in your church. There's people out there who's real shy and don't want their name mentioned and don't want um, to be attention brought to them. There are many ways to help out in your church that uh, you've got a specialty somewhere. I can clean the toilet if I have to. I've got no problems doing that. If that's what they need, that's what I'll do. Um, but I'm kind of real shy and reserved, and um, okay, I'm a people person, and so the door seemed to be the place for me.
That's not loud in the first episode.
I was just exaggerating a little, but I was talking to our new pastor the other day. And we went to a concert here several years ago, and John 316, which is a wonderful organization. Um, they had a group there that made shirts, and they were handing out shirts for free, and it had all the sponsors and who was there, and across the very back shoulders, and probably 3.5, 4 inch letters, it says servant. And that's one of my favorite shirts, because whether I'm at my church, whether I'm at my job, whether it's uh, cooking for one of the many clubs that we're involved in, or cleaning up the woods, or whatever we're doing, we all can be servants. We're all supposed to be servants. Um, and so that's just kind of the path that I've been led down all my life. To help, to be there, to stand in, to blend in, my goal is to make it happen. Whatever I got to do to make it happen, I'll do my best to make sure that's done. Whether it's a Sunday morning service or a prayers team, altar team, cooking, cleaning, whatever we got to do. I always joke with people, and it sounds kind of harsh, but I can't go home till it's done. And that's the way I look at all my jobs: is I can't go home until it's done. And so that's just kind of what carries me through, um, to get motivated to get it done, I guess. So,
Well, I read something when I was a teenager about when you do a job or you go to a job, don't do it as you're serving man. You're working for your boss, but do it like you're working for Jesus, that you're serving Jesus. And I really had to develop that attitude with where I work now, where I came into this environment. There was a lot of, just to be frank, laziness. And I can be lazy, and I most definitely want to be lazy most times, but I knew that things had to get done. And instead of asking people for help or asking for it to get done, I just did it myself. And, one day, um, I was walking out the door, is getting ready to go to work. And honestly, I was starting to experience a little bit of burnout. And I just had this little pity party for myself. And I was praying while I was doing it. I'm like, you know what, God, like, why am I the chosen one? Like, why have you intended for me to take this path, to be the better person, to be the bigger person? I'm wore out. I'm exhausted. Um, and nobody cares. Nobody notices. Nobody sees the work that I put into it. Nobody takes notice of the work that I put into my job and what I'm doing. And it was maybe a matter of a week, maybe, I think. And I was approached by my boss who said, "Hey, I want you to know the job you're doing is has not gone unnoticed. And for recognition of that, I would like you to be one of my supervisors." And my literal words when he asked me if I would be interested in it, I kind of had some reservations, and I had asked about a couple of other people. He told me he had some reservations about those people himself, and that he thought that I was the best choice. And at that point in time, he told me, he said, "I need somebody with a backbone." And it's kind of funny now, we joke back and forth about that backbone. Sometimes we clash, but he's a great boss. He's a great leader, and he's really taught me a lot. Um, and just that pat on the back has really helped me and helped my demeanor, because after that, it's like God knew that I needed that message from him, because after that, I was okay. I still do my job to this day, not for the recognition, but I did get that little bit of recognition for God to say, "Hey, I see you and I see what you're doing."
Um, when when I hired onto my job, it's been working on 2 years now. I had an interview with several of the big wigs in the company that I work for, and I'm a maintenance supervisor now for a local company who has several properties. And they told me, they said, "What do you feel your number one goal here is?" And at that time, I was just applying for a maintenance man job. Um, what do you think your main goal here is? And trying to come up with the right answer turned out to be the wrong answer. I said, "I'm here to protect the company assets." And they said, "No." I said, "Your number one job here is to protect the tenants." And
Mhm.
that was the right answer, but it wasn't the answer that I thought was going to get me the job, because it's time I really needed a job. So, but it was kind of a smack in the head to saying, "Hey, you need to get back to where you're supposed to be here." So, um, but yeah, that's true. I have to balance making sure I'm a good steward of my company's money and it's being spent well in the proper places. But I have to take care of my people that rely on me to provide them a good environment to live in. So,
And even as you have moved up in your organization, what you just said about scrubbing toilets if you have to, you've had to do that.
mm-hmm.
You've had to clean tenants' houses, and some of the apartments, the pictures that he has sent has been atrocious. But I can say undoubtedly that you haven't shrank from that work. You haven't posted off on somebody else. You've actually done it.
There wasn't nobody else to give it to.
Yeah. And so that in itself, I think, speaks volumes that um, you're willing to scrub the toilets and you're willing to scrape the tile and whatnot. And I made sure that we just joined Light in the Wilderness Church membership. We've been going there for several months, but we just applied for our membership here not long ago. And on the application, it asked you what areas that you would like to serve in. And I remember as a kid, like I was asking God in this same church about where he wanted me to serve, like if it was to clean the bathrooms or if it was to sing on stage, which I'm not very good at, but I'm all about going up there and praising God and leading worship or sweeping the floor after service. And I made sure that I put that down. Not only did I put down the podcast, but I put down those things about cleaning the kitchen or cleaning the church on certain days when the ladies have to come in, cleaning the bathrooms. I wanted them to know that they weren't going to offend me by asking, "Hey, can you grab a mop and a broom and come over here and sweep this up?" Because, well, look at David, and David being a shepherd,
Mm-hmm.
and God appointed him to be a king.
It's a pretty big promotion.
Yeah.
Um, we had an event not long ago at the church where it was back at Christmas, and they wanted to do breakfast with Santa and have the kids come in. And so pastor's wife came to me and asked me, she said, would you be willing to help cook for that? I said, you bet. And so we worked out what we wanted and how we was going to do it in all 9 yards. And I showed up there and I started cooking. I had another couple that come in and was helping just get stuff going. First time cooking in this church. Where's everything at? Where's it all go back? And I reached down and I pulled the cabinet door open and the bottom hinge was loose and broke. And somebody said something, oh yeah, we've been trying to get around to get that taken care of. And so we got finished cooking and serving and the kids were going through their routine about what they were going to do on Sunday. Um, I went out to the truck to put some of my pans and stuff up and there's laying an impact in the screw. Well, let's just go in there and fix the cabinet. I mean, it needs to be done. I don't know how long it'd been. It's hard sometimes just to remember, hey, I need to bring a screw and a screwdriver. I'm the world's worst about that around here. And I'm not trying to brag, okay? Don't get that. But it was just something that was seen that needed done. And I just had the tools laying there. So let's just knock it out of the way and fix it and be done with it.
Well, in that same scenario, I remember you coming home and telling the story about the stoves, the ovens, and not having enough oven space. And so trying to find a different oven, and where our church is overgrown so much that they have actually put everybody out into the gym. And the sanctuary itself is actually the original church is the kids use most often. So there was a oven in that other building, and instead of complaining, Brett adapted and overcame to his circumstances and didn't stand there and go, okay, God, what do I need to do? He didn't complain that he didn't have the right appliances or ample room in his appliances to perform his duty. He just did it.
Well, when we were talking about it, I was like, it'd really be nice if we had another stove in here. And one of the members there's like, hey, there's another oven over next door. And I'm like, let's use it. It took a lot of running, but we got it done. I mean, we got the purpose taken care of. But sometimes you just got to make do with what you got.
Well, you did the same thing at the children's home in Monticello that time. That was you cooking burgers for everybody, and in the main industrial kitchen at the children's home campus, the oven went out.
No, the grills wouldn't light.
Oh, it was the grill.
Yeah.
The grill wouldn't come on, and so the Pastor Bobby Cole, at that point in time, was on a little bit of a panic mode. The red button hadn't been pushed yet, but
but if you know Bobby Cole, he's generally that close to pushing the red button anyway. I just told him, said, Bobby, just go on, we'll take care of it. So we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, there's always a way. He just has to sometimes smack me in the head and point at it, and say, hey, over here, so.
I think that's what makes you a good leader. And I think that's what God looks for in good leaders, is that aptitude of, I'll just do it.
We'll make it work one way or another.
Make it work.
I've never in my life, I've cooked cakes and they have done, cooked cakes and they be burnt. If you put an iron pot over a campfire, they're going to eat it one way or another.
Biscuits.
And so most times folks are just glad enough to get it. They're willing to cut you a little bit of slack if it's a little cold or a little raw or a little overdone. And I've burnt my share. I promise you, that's part of the game. It's part of learning. And most people are appreciative enough to be able to handle a little bit of burnt on the bottom or something. But most times it's just you got to find where your serving spot is. There's always a spot, and if not, you can be the backup to somebody who's doing that, because there's going to be a sickness, there's going to be vacations, stuff like that. So there's a spot for you in every church, in every community, in every home, for you to be a servant. My job here, I had to make sure the princess has her supper every night, whenever she's home and ready. So that's my job here. And since the dishwasher's broke, I got to do the dishes too. So if I could just figure out how to fix the dishwasher, I'd be in good shape.
I help out quite a bit. So
he does.
So any last thoughts on to become a leader, you must become a servant?
Generally, if you become a good servant, the leadership will come to you. Um, People, you think, like she was talking about with her boss, somebody's noticing, because if nobody else is doing it and you weren't doing it, then more than likely the boss was having to do it.
Yeah.
And if the boss noticed someone is getting it done, he's going to start looking to see who's taking care of that. And that's going to, Sky is going to rank pretty high in their book, knowing that they've got somebody they can count on to take care of things like that. So if you become a good servant, the leadership part, I feel, will come to you. So,
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our first ever episode of Amadeo Dispatch. Thank you for staying with us through this almost painless journey. It has been a struggle. We're just going to go over time just a little bit. It's been a little bit of a struggle to get this on. Our December and our January were rough, very rough. And I would even say part of Thanksgiving.
yeah.
We've had two deaths. Brett and I foster. We currently have one foster placement, and we had two. And uh, the way we described that situation was a tornado. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. Our little one, he needed some more care than what we were able and capable of providing for him. So we just really haven't had any downtime. And we've asked for prayers a lot from our church family and from the Thirsty Soul Project online ministry for prayers, because the enemy has just hit hard. And just getting this episode up and going, he was hitting us just like that, trying to nail us down. Brett was invisible a while ago.
She was doing algebra, which is not good.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I'm in a whole lot better mood today than what I was yesterday about algebra. So anyway, we're gonna call this a success. And we hope that you enjoyed it and hope that you join us on the next one. And if there's any algebra whizzes out there that's willing to tutor, I kind of need somebody. See you next time.